Let's check in with Joseph Lindsley in Ukraine.
Joe. Little fucking Joe Lindsley.
Joe Lindsley is quickly becoming an American treasure in broadcasting.
Welcome to Ukraine Bank.
Joe, it seems like the big story there is the escalating aerial war.
Bob, yes. Good afternoon from Lviv. Just moments ago, we had reports of a ballistic missile strike somewhere in the Mykolaiv Oblast on the Black Sea. But it has, compared to New Year's weekend, it's been pretty quiet these past few days. And of course, now in the sort of the new mentality, when you have days of quiet, you are expecting, something even more wicked to arrive soon. Here in Lviv, we haven't had any air raid alarms for several days. And I was just speaking with a friend in Kharkiv, that city that has been so heavily pummeled since last Thursday. And I said, how is it there? And he said, today is okay, silence and snow. But it's actually not okay because what happened over those past few days, over New Year's weekend, has transformed Kharkiv. It's, day after day of missile attacks and drone attacks. And Kharkiv, where I spent so much time the past few months, the city was starting to blossom again. It was really returning to a vibrant city life. And this was very audacious because Kharkiv is so close to Russia, 30 miles or so from the border, but people were returning to the city. Shops and cafes were reopening, and there was a great feeling there. And now, because of what has happened those past days, it's such a blow. I mean, the city, from the images I've seen and from the stories I hear there, is transformed. And people say it looks like it did back in February and March of 2022. The scale of destruction is that big. I heard from an artist in Kharkiv who was, left a voicemail for me. It's talking about the loss of human life has been very bad. Some of the most beloved landmarks in the city have been hit by the Russians. And so what's really happened there, it's extremely difficult. And I get this feeling right now, reflecting on, those stepped up Russian attacks during the Christmas season and New Year's. And there's a heaviness throughout the country. And, it feels like, when I think back to missiles striking quite near me just a few days ago, or that insane drone attack from the sky, or the skies over Lviv, you had these lawnmower-like machines flying around. You couldn't see them because it was very cloudy. And all you could see were the red lights of the air defense shooting frantically from the buildings of the city into the sky to try to stop these machines from attacking the city. And you hear the sound of gunfire, and you see, you can tell there's explosions happening above the clouds. And then when you hear the massive boom and explosion, you know that means one of two things: either air defense worked and the drone was blown up, or it hit its target. And in one case, one of the targets in Lviv was a very precise target. They hit a Ukrainian cultural museum dedicated to Ukrainian independence from over 100 years ago. So you really see the Russians know what they're seeking, and it's just it's like being in a Star Wars movie. It's hard. Today when it's quiet and calm here, it's hard to believe that we lived through that just days ago, and that it's not like a hurricane or an earthquake. It's going to return soon, and so this is very difficult for everyone here. And listening to, as I recall in my mind, the sound of those missiles hitting, I just feel this sense of a fundamental injustice. It's almost like the entire nation is unjustly imprisoned with little recourse to get out of this. And I think this is, I think it's really maybe best put by an American musician, yet another musician from Ohio. A couple of days ago, we played the music of Brother Hill from Ohio. And there's another American folk musician named Benjamin Stewart, and he's here in Ukraine. And he wrote me today about the flood of darkness overcoming everyone. He says, low morale is everywhere. There's a feeling that victory is not around the bend. But in spite of it all, there's been a lot of Christmas celebration, much more than last year, as Ukrainians realize they must live and nurture their spirits and souls, even as Russia's war continues to claim their best and brightest. The cognitive dissonance rules everything right now. Benjamin writes, as a great instrument builder in Kyiv told me, we have nothing to celebrate, and yet celebrate we must. People need it. And Benya continues, it's a time of Ukrainians coming to terms with the fact that the flow of aid may well stop, and it will be up to them, the Ukrainians alone, to find their way. And I see in everyone right now a subtle shift, a deeper steeling of the soul, a preparation for harder times ahead. And I think that perfectly encapsulates the mood in Ukraine, from Lviv to Kharkiv and everywhere in between right now.
You know, you talk about those drones, Joe. I was watching a story on the news last night about Amazon delivery and the use of drones, and I'm looking at a close-up of the drones flying around, and they are cute little instruments. But when I was watching it, all I could think of was what goes on there with you and Ukraine, and I imagined these things flying over me, and with the threat that they're going to kill me. I don't know how you live with that. I really don't.
It's incredibly difficult, but on the positive side, I visited a drone facility in recent days where volunteers from all over are taking these drones made in China. They're taking out the Chinese chips, which can be used to spy on the Ukrainians, and they're sort of foolproofing these. And those drones that I touched a few days ago will soon be going to stop the Russians, in the battlefield. So, of course, Ukrainians are punching back, but this is, it is really, especially these attacks on the cities, it is so menacing and the evil, because it's so frequent, and maybe, it becomes mundane to the world, but it is such a sinister thing. And I was talking with a foreign fighter who's been, has been through horrible battlefield experience, and he's used to it. And as he wrote me, he said, I've accepted my fate. But he was at a cafe not so long ago that was directly hit by a Russian missile. And he was off duty and just getting some food and surrounded by civilians. And he says that is his scariest and worst moment from the war. He said, it scared me and scarred me in a way that the battlefield hasn't. Because on the missions, you expect it. But when you're sitting there eating pizza with civilians, there were two twin 13-year-old girls who were killed. The kitchen staff was killed. He says that's the thing that haunts him, even when he's in the trenches, the way that the Russians sent that missile, to destroy civilians and living civilian life. And so this is, and as we look at, the world, it's becoming very clear to everyone. And I think, even to outside observers, that Washington is not interested in real victory and in stopping Russia. But when you look at, this is what Russia is. This is the hell that they're unleashing. And we're waiting now, any moment, any day, for the next round of Russian attacks.
Joseph, we'll talk on Monday. Meantime, keep looking up figuratively and literally. And we pray for peace. Thank you.
And for victory. Thank you, Bob. Until Monday.
Thank you for introducing Ukraine on your social media pages. That's very important, that much more people can get more information about the situation here and how everybody can help Ukraine to stay stronger and to save all the world.
Що сказав?
Well, which side are you on?
На чиїй ти стороні?
Come on now. Oh, which side are you on?
На чиїй ти стороні?